podcasting one as a way to meet people was super effective rather than just cold calling people. Being able to use the podcast as a way to, hey, and you're in a way you doing this too. You're gonna meet me through this podcast, and we might be good friends. And so one, podcasting is a great way I use to meet people and build my network. But two, it's also a great content pillar, like this 15 minutes of interviewing that we're going to have here. You can then go utilize that in 20 different reels, and so that's the same way I use it. Releasing at one point I released 3 to 4 episodes a week of hour-long content that I could then reuse and everything else. So I think those are my 3 biggest things. 1, it's a great way to meet people. 2, it's great pillar content, and most of all, I like doing it.
Welcome to the Brendan Brown's Clutch Facts and Theories podcast show. I'm your host, Brendan Brown, and today we have another guest with us. His name is Benjamin Wong. He is the CEO of Kid CEO. He's also a podcast host of the Young Trip podcast, and a lot of things that he's done in social media. He's done a lot of things, and welcome, Benjamin, to the show, and explain yourself.
Hey, Brendan, it's great to be here. Very nice to meet everyone. Hey, I'm Ben. I'm a kid entrepreneur, podcast host. I'm going to do a few more things, but excited to help you out and see if I can offer anyone some advice or make their life a little bit easier or better.
What inspired you to do everything you're doing now?
To be honest, I just like doing it. I get this question quite a bit of, what inspires you to do what you do, and I could answer this in many ways. I could say, it's good for the world, which of course it is, but at the end of the day, I like doing it. Going to conferences, interviewing cool people, doing interviews, helping people, starting companies. That's just fun for me. And so, sure, there are some inspirations that I look up to. I have dreams I want to accomplish. But at the end of the day, I enjoy the everyday process, and so that's what keeps me going.
That's good. So you started Kid CEO, which is your media company, and also Kid CEO has an NFT collection called Kid CEO Heroes. Where is this digital hall of heroes? Where all this came from? And currently, I know you have Jaquil as one of your hall of heroes.
Yeah, so Kid CEO Heroes is a project that we put on pause a few months ago. I think we could pause that in February or something like that. But a big thing that we're exploring with Kid CEO is NFTs, digital assets. And so we've been working with a few other people like MJ, where we just released this project Vico, it's an NFT project. And so we're always very curious about new technologies and how we can use them to work with current brands and to really bridge that gap with Web 2 and Web 3. So that's something that we're always exploring, NFT technology, and that we're going to continue exploring until something new arises. But I think it's a very interesting developing space, especially as a younger media company and me as a younger person. It's a great opportunity to explore those technologies.
That's good. How's the Discord going?
Yes, the Discord group that we worked on going well. I think we're going to approach 50 members soon, and so that we're also putting on a brief pause during the summer. But once we get back to that around August, September, we're going back to our weekly calls and really getting that discussion up. I think it's something that we definitely tried. Discord, relatively new technology, just like NFTs, and so I think it's another one of those things that we're experimenting with and seeing how we can use them to interact with our community.
So how is Kid CEO podcast and your second podcast, Young Trip, going? Because I know you referenced, I think, on another podcast, something that you had took a break from that or something. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So Kid CEO, the podcast, was my first ever thing that I did way back when in 2020, and I did that. I think we did 70 episodes or something like that, interviewing kid entrepreneurs, talking about financial advice, stocks, all that stuff. And so that show is discontinued. I occasionally release things, and I might go back to it in the future, but at the moment, that's all archived, and so people can go back and listen. You can listen for days of content. But my other podcast, Young Trap, is also going strong. Interview celebrities, entrepreneurs, philanthropists, and anyone who's a really interesting story, and interviewing on the show, talk about their stories, what makes them tick, and their advice for young people, and that's going strong.
Good. What got you into podcasting, or really inspired you to do podcasting?
I like doing it, just like I told you in the beginning. I like doing it. Podcasting, one, as a way to meet people was super effective, rather than just cold calling people. Being able to use the podcast as a way to, hey, and you're in a way doing this too. You're going to meet me through this podcast, and we might be good friends. And so one, podcasting is a great way I use to meet people and build my network. But two, it's also a great content pillar, like this 15 minutes of interviewing that we're going to have here. You can then go utilize that in 20 different reels, and so that's the same way I use it. Releasing at one point I released 3 to 4 episodes a week of hour-long content that I could then reuse and everything else. So I think those are my 3 biggest things. One, it's a great way to meet people. 2, it's great pillar content, and most of all, I like doing it.
Love it, man. What got you into content creation? And explain your journey with making content and just being Benjamin Wong.
Yeah, so content creation. I think it was just I at that point. Well, to be honest, I've always done content creation, whether it was a podcast or an interview or whatever. But I think content creation formally through social media was just something that came naturally. I don't think I intended when I got out to do this. I don't think that was my intention, but I think content creation is something that every podcaster or YouTube host, everyone can use content creation to really further their brand. So, just like with NFTs and Discord, used my curiosities, explored it, learned a little bit how to use Premiere Pro and Photoshop, and then just started releasing content of archived content and new content too.
Yeah. And I truly believe that most content creators start off nowadays, I believe now, like 2022 standards, start off with either doing a TikTok or either starting with a podcast. And, for me, that's how I got into the YouTube space too, and how I got into everything through podcasting. And back to what you said earlier, what you referenced, it allowed me to network with a lot of people, especially you. So I really like the content creation space, and I think that it's going to be something, I think it is going to be something that will last us for like the rest of the life. And with this new age, from transitioning from average television to digital, it's going to be something, especially with this NFT thing now that's growing. This is just the baby size, like Gary Vee always say. And speaking of Gary Vee, you've actually met Gary Vee at a conference before, and you made a reel of it. And
If you could go back to when you were a kid, tell yourself one thing, what would it be?
That everything you think that nobody else is thinking is actually true. Just trust yourself.
He also made a reel with you on his social media account.
Tell yourself one thing, what would it be?
That everything you think that nobody else is thinking is actually true. Just trust yourself. Let me tell you what I meant there. I believe things today that most of the world doesn't. I think it's better to stick to it and see it all the way through, especially when it's positive.
So how was that experience, and really, how was it?
It was awesome. I mean, Gary is such a genuine person. And there I saw him, because it's the stadium, how it's made. At any point you could really see Gary from the stage, and at any point you could see thousands or hundreds of people crowding around Gary, asking for pictures, selfies, asking questions, and never once did his eyes even leave the person he was talking to. And so I think that was a good proof for me that this guy who's so successful, millions of followers, he makes worth hundreds of millions of dollars in net worth, but he still takes the time to really communicate with and care for every single individual. And that was a great experience for me. I mean, in my entire 10-second interaction with them, he never seemed like he was distracted. He never looked away, just straight at me. It was just me and him there. And so I think that presence was something that people have talked about in the past, and I got to experience it in person. So it was very cool.
Yeah. Did you have butterflies in your stomach when that happened?
Not really, because that all happened so fast. We saw Gary by himself, right, in front of us, and we called him out. He came out. He said he had 20 seconds, or people were going to start crowding him. So 20 seconds to just us, me, MJ, and Gary, and a friend of ours, Justin. and we had like 20 seconds to be with Gary, and so I don't think I didn't have time to think about it, to overthink, to be nervous, and I just had to get my question in there that I had prepared. He signed my book, and that was that.
Yeah, and that's just amazing.
Very cool. I think everyone at one point will meet Gary, one way or the other. He's coming to LA, my hometown. Unfortunately, I'll actually be gone when he's here, but yeah, very, very cool.
Well, what part of LA do you live in?
So I live in the suburbs of LA. So I don't live downtown, but I live in the surrounding areas of LA. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So are you a Warriors or Lakers fan?
I'm a Lakers fan, also a Warriors fan. I've never been a huge basketball person. My sister's boyfriend is. I've never been to a Lakers game before or a Warriors game before. I might have when I was really young, but like I don't follow football too much. I don't follow basketball too much. I'm more on the football side. I'm a big Rams fan. And I used to be a little more in soccer too, but well, it depends. Whichever one's doing better. If this year was the Warriors, so I'm the Warriors this year.
Yeah, and congrats with the Rams because y'all won the championship, and then
thank you.
Congrats to me too because I'm a big You're welcome because I'm a big Warriors fan. So we won a championship too, and the funny thing is, both teams got blue and yellow, or gold, I should say. So it's such a coincidence. And then now me and you are both doing an interview. Such a coincidence, eh? Yeah. Similar teams, similar ideas, similar people. But back to the episode, you've been interviewed on many podcast shows, such as like MJ's podcast. Also interviewed through Shaquille, I believe. You actually collab with Shaquille on social media. And then you also done a lot of collabs with other creators. So what experience have you learned through all this, through collabing with other people?
I'd say just say yes a lot. Like I don't turn people down very often, and that same goes with content creation and collaborations, and honestly it applies to everything. Just as having humility, not to overvalue myself or my time, and just saying yes to everything. If it takes 15 minutes for an interview to get to know someone or whatever, but just saying yes a lot. I think that's the biggest thing I've learned, and just doing things that really scare me, that are out of my comfort zone, and that in combination with just saying yes to a lot of smaller things, I think is something I've learned a lot.
Mm-hmm. How do you want to impact the Asian community?
How do I want to impact the Asian community? I think a lot of others in the Asian community, I haven't honestly seen a lot in the entrepreneur space, and I think my biggest thing is showing other young Asians that it's possible to do more than the more traditional activities, like starting a business or podcasting or traveling. So I think that's something that's definitely on my list.
Yeah, because that question really got to me because my last episode I was interviewing Sonyu, and she told me about you, and I was asking her the same thing, except not the Asian but the Black community, and I just said that's a new question I might start asking. It's really grateful, which I know race doesn't mean nothing. We can do anything because we're all human, but I like to always see that too because who we are individually, we're representing something. Just like, for example, if you're from America, you're representing the USA. Even if you're from, let's just say, North Carolina, and this person's from LA, y'all live in two different cities, but y'all still representing something. Just like for me, I'm a human, I'm a male, but I'm still representing the Black male. And you're still representing the Asian males. And just in general, people of your race, people of my race, I'm aspiring. So I just really wanted to ask that question because that's really a deep, impactful question. You also want to be an entrepreneur, so explain that.
Yeah, so I think entrepreneurs, but being an entrepreneur, I think is something that's heavily in my DNA. My grandpa, my mom, my parents, both my grandpas, were entrepreneurs. The only in their families, their siblings. So I think it's something that's always been in my blood. It's something I did very early on, before I understood the concept of money or status. I was just selling things on the street for fun. And so I think it's something that I've always done, something that's deep inside my DNA, and something that I will continue to do, for the rest of my life. It's something that, like I said in the beginning, it's fun for me, it's impactful, it makes the world a better place. And so if it fits check all the boxes, it's something that I'll continue to do.
Where do you see yourself in the next few years?
Next few years, happy. I think that's it. I don't know exactly what I'll be doing in 1 year, but I'll be happy.
Yeah. Any advice you want to give to people who want to start off or do a career similar to yours?
Just do it. Don't wait. Be patient. Be patient in the long term, but move fast in the short term. So yes to all opportunities, especially when you're starting out. And be crazy. Do crazy things.
What do you want your legacy to be?
Someone who impacts the lives of others. Simple as that.
Alrighty, guys. So Benjamin Wong, wonderful guest. If you want to get to know more about him, everything's all down below in the description. And also, where can we contact you?
Yeah, I mean, you can leave me a DM at official Benjamin Wong on Instagram, or Ben Wong with a 3 on Twitter, or you can just email me ben@ceo.co. Probably the easiest way to reach me.
Alrighty. Well, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and God bless you guys. Alrighty, Benjamin.